Welcome back to the Beatngu channel. If you're new here, we're glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about how to take a brand new Beatngu license plate and age and distress it to look like this. Before the filming of Jeepers Creepers 3, we had the honor of restoring this truck back to the way it was in Jeepers Creepers. Now, this is a screen-used truck, most of you know that. It was built by the Jeepers Creepers production team in 2000, and it worked in Jeepers Creepers. So we restored this truck, we gave it new paint, new running gear. It's basically a brand new truck that looks old. During that process, we had to take brand new Beatngu plates that you can get online and age and distress them to look old and beat up like the rest of this truck. So let me show you how I did it. So this is how this plate comes. It's a really good starting point for what we want to do. This thing unwrapped and ready to go. So the first thing we have to do is scuff this plate. If you're going to put paint over existing paint, in order to get it to stick, everything must be sanded and scuffed. So we're going to scuff this whole thing. It's actually the longest part of the job. It takes probably 25 minutes or so. The yellow is very fragile. You have to be careful about how you sand it. And so I'm going to do that in two steps. We'll start out with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then we'll actually use sandpaper. So let's go to work. So when you're sanding, what you're really looking for is a dulling of the paint. And you can easily see what we got and what we missed just by looking at how dull this is now. Next step is going to be sandpaper. So this is a 600 grit sandpaper. It's very fine. And again, I say you have to be very careful of yellow. So I am going to make little round surfaces out of this and get in these spots, and then I'll make some sharp ones to get in here. So now you can see that this is all very dull. The only thing we have left to do is the letters. Now normally I do the letters at the same time, but I just wanted you guys to see this. So now we're going to do the letters. I'm going to use a piece of used sandpaper. So it probably becomes more like 800 or 1000 grit. And we have to be careful not to get things like this. A little bit's okay, too much is not. Now for one of the more fun steps in the process, we're going to be putting some dents and bends into this plate. Now at this point in the process, I've probably done about 300 of these, so I can go very fast. I know where I'm bending and what I'm doing. But you guys take your time, go slow, and experiment with what you want to do. First thing we have to do is put this stereotypical bend in the corner. I have a tool that makes that really easy for me, but you don't have to have it to do it. So there we have it, a pretty well bent plate. It looks like it should. Now one of the things I try to do is keep the wobble out of these, so I take a little extra time to bend them. You can get the wobble out if you're creative. They're gonna wobble a little bit if you move them with intent, but really I just want it to be able to sit here without popping back and forth. So I think that's a good plate, ready for the next step. The next step is going to be to put some dents in this. We've already got some bends, now we have to do the dents. The plate, by the way, that we are replicating this go around is the plate that was used on the back of the truck at the police station. All of the plates, there were 4 different plates that were on the back and 1 that was on the front, and they were all slightly different because they're all hand bent. So this one is a replica of the one at the police station, and so those are the specific nicks and dents that we're going to put in it. The next thing we're going to do is a little bit of scratching where I have dented. We have to be careful, but not perfect. Each one is its own masterpiece and is somewhat different. So if you don't get it perfect, that's okay. Next thing we're going to do is some more dents. General dents. Now if you've done it right, you have to go back and bend it flat again after all of that hammering, and we will. And we're going to have some more warbles to get rid of, and we will. That's okay. Something like that is what we're getting close to. I always fine tune as I go, but for now, that's pretty good. I like that. So it is time for us to look forward to the next step, which is fun. You guys know what it is? It's going to be putting paint into these grooves. Let's do it. For this process, we're using this Krylon Camouflage Brown paint and a little bit in the cap with a cool little artist brush. I have found that it takes a little bit for this to get thick enough to be really useful, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. It doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, the whole thing's getting distressed even beyond this. This just gets some paint into the grooves so that it looks kind of cool. There we are. First step of putting paint on this plate. Next step, we're going to dab a bunch of paint on this and turn it into some rust. That takes a little bit of a bigger brush. I go in the low areas first, and I have a pattern that I kind of use, but you can do your own thing. It doesn't matter what you do. This brush with this dabbing really makes for a pretty good effect. You can put rust on this and how much ever you want, anywhere you want. If you go between the letters, don't use a fresh brush full of paint. Dab somewhere else first, otherwise you'll get on your yellow more than you want to, and we don't want to do that. Now again, I know where I'm going because I've done a bunch of these, but you can either go wherever you want or get a close-up of a plate from one of the movies and copy it. Print yourself out a picture, put it right next to what you're doing, and you can put on rusty paint wherever you want to. Sometimes I get a bit on my brush and just kind of go rough and once over. Other times I get a bit on my brush and I stay in one spot for a while. The longer you stay in a spot, the darker the paint will be and the more rusted it appears. Be random. Be random with your placement of rust because rust is very, very random. Wherever I want this to actually look like rust, I go over it twice and it starts to look sort of brown, like brown rust. Where I've gone over it just once, it sort of distresses the black paint and dulls it a little and looks like starting rust. So it's a win-win. You just about can't go wrong. If you want dark rust, you go over it twice. If you want just starting to rust and thinking about it, then you just go over it once. And that's what I do in some spots. So it just sort of looks random. And everything you do to look random and not intentional or purposed. Rust is about as unpurposed as it gets, right? I see an artist brush spot that I missed, so let's get that. And I can't tell you guys how often that happens. happens a lot. Just, you know, you guys aren't making 50 of them at a time, so it won't matter as much to you guys, but man, when I'm making 50, it's easy to miss a spot. The reason why I noticed that is because I want to go between these two, because it feels sort of like it would be almost kind of a scratch that was combined between the two of those. I always try to put some paint by the beginnings of these spots that I painted first, because rust carries, and yeah, I think it's a little more believable that way. There, we're almost finished. So I'm going to do the next step on this. Let's go outside and we're going to do a little spray paint. Okay, we're going to do some spray painting here. First coat is going to be black primer. You can use any black primer in the world. They're all about the same. This particular can, I get fairly close. Kind of like that. Camera's going to make this really hard to see, but what I want is a very light coat, just to where it starts to make the letters look a little sprayed, not a lot. Okay, second step is the same camouflage paint. I'm going to paint just a little bit. This one requires me to stand back a little further. You guys should have gloves and respirators and all of that stuff. I don't use that stuff, but that's me. Don't copy what I do. Be safe. There we go. Now it's very hard to see. Let's see. Can you guys see that misting and light coat on there? It's not much, and it's really starting to look pretty cool. This is a pretty good looking plate. It's got pretty good detail. And that is a pretty good replica of the plate that was used on the creeper truck at the police station. Now, there is one more step I'm not going to show you guys. But hey, after all, this is not Bob Ross paint hour. There's something that I do that is special as an artist to this. If you guys watch my videos, you have your answer. You know what the last step is. But I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to show you as soon as I get done doing that step. So this is what we have right now. And so here is the finished product. And I'm telling you, the camera doesn't do it justice. This looks really cool, even close up and to the touch. It is very well distressed. And a neat little collectible from the Jeepers Creepers franchise. Now, we've had so much interest in these plates that we've decided to age and distress some of them for you. That is going to be by the same team that restored this truck and aged and distressed the plates for the filming of Jeepers Creepers 3. Now, when we say it's an exact replica of the plate, it's going to be by the same process, by the same people. So we're talking an exact replica. Those are going to be available. Please watch for them if you want one. Thank you guys so much for watching our videos. We really appreciate all of you. If you appreciate what we do, please like and subscribe, but really the honor is all ours. Until next time, we'll see you.